Now we need to stylize the links using float and text shadow. So if you look here, our links look atrocious, right? First of all, they're stock color blue, they have bullet points, and they're underlined, and they have no shadow. They should be in a straight line and up here in the top right corner. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go into the CSS file, and we're going to define the way that we want our navigation links to look. If you remember from the first web page, we defined that in a very particular way. And so I'm going to come back over here to the tutorial that we used, and I'm going to grab this code, paste it in. I'm going to grab this code and paste it in, and I'm going to grab this last piece of code and paste it in. And so what this is all about is it's defining a new class called nav. Right? We know it's a new class because we've got the period nav. And so this is saying any li elements that are in this nav class element use this property. Any a elements in the nav class element use these properties. And any a elements, when you hover over the element with your mouse, then use this property. So you could see that these two are the same. So I meant for you to add these two into nav a. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and we have our nav class. Right? Display inline block here. Make sure that it doesn't use the bullet points and sets them out in a straight line. We have our padding around each element, which gives some spacing. Text decoration none will get rid of the underline, and the color is the color that we want them to be. And I guess we want the color to be black, right? So I'll put 6 zeros, and then the hover color I want it to be, I guess, gray. So maybe I could change that later, but let me save that, come back over here, and I'll refresh it. No changes, right? Why not? No changes because we're not using this nav class in our index.html. So I come back over here, and this is the element that I want to use the nav class in, the UL. So I'll say class equals nav, save it, come over here, and I'll refresh it. Okay, great. So now they're in a line, they hover, there's spacing around it, but they're still not up here in the top right corner. Right? And so one little trick that I'm going to use here is I'm going to go into the code creative section, and I'm going to say class, I'm going to say 4 columns, space. And now I'm going to refresh it, and now we get it here, right? But still it's not looking good because it's not on the right side. So in order to get it on the right side, I need to go back to my styles.css, and I'm going to make a new nav class. Remember, these are just for the LIs that are in the nav. This one here is just for the A's that are in the nav, and this is just when you hover over the A. This one is just for everything. It's just that whole nav class. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say float, and I'm going to say right. I'll save that. I'll refresh it, and you can see now I have them stuck to the right side. Okay. And so maybe I also want to add some padding on the very right side of the. But I guess we could do that later. But for now, things look good. I maybe want to change this to a different color that's black, but not quite all black, right? Okay, so maybe that. And I also want to use a text shadow, just like we used here, right? So the way we're going to do that is just copy and paste, save it, refresh it, and now I got text shadow everywhere, right? The way that I have my web page set up is if I have a shadow, if I hover, the shadow increases. Do you see that? Right? So how am I going to do that over here is I'm going to set the shadow pretty small. So let's do a shadow of 2. Let's do 2. And then when you hover, the shadow is going to increase. Right? So I'm going to take away that color, and I'm just going to replace it with the increase of shadow. So maybe I'll change that to a 4. And I'll save it. Come back over here and I'll refresh. Notice when I hover, I get that shadow increase, right? And I think that's about it.